again, and welcome to Kerbal Space Program again. You didn't hear any of that before because, well, I don't even know if you're not hearing me now. Hopefully you are. OBS decided it didn't like my microphone that I've been using for ages now and just randomly decided that it wasn't connected, even though it's connected, because I don't know. I don't know, OBS. I don't know. Anyway, we're here now. So that's fine, and you can hear me, and that's all good. So, yeah, what I was saying before I realised that people couldn't hear me, despite me fiddling with settings, is that, what was I saying? I shouldn't have let in with that without then actually, you know, remembering what... Anyway, oh yeah, I was saying that it's late and I decided to do some KSP because it's been a while since I've done KSP and it's just been a while since I've streamed generally. I have been playing a bit though. I'll actually maybe point out before we go much further, I have a Kerbal page, and Kerbal is the website. I should have actually had this link ready to go, but I'm super organised, as you can see. Yeah, it's the website where people can upload their craft, and basically all the kind of stock stuff I've been doing, I've more or less uploaded there. There's also the Space Tog there. I think I've actually put a link to Kerbal in videos before, but there isn't anything from this particular playthrough where I've got all the mods going. I might do at some point because of course I've got all the funky aircraft, but it's all the stuff I've been mucking around with in stock for now. Although the latest aircraft there is actually one that was inspired by me mucking around in this, because, and this is a complete, like, nothing to do with the main event, but because you can have propellers with the mod pack I'm using, I was mucking around with, well, first a pull push configuration of propellers, which is a thing that's been done a couple of times with planes, but not very often. And then I thought, well, why not try this with, like, jet engines with reversers on? So it's got a pull-push configuration for jet engines, and it flies surprisingly well. So I did a kind of stock version of that, which went on Kerbal. But yeah, let's take this out for a spin, because it's a bit ridiculous. It's a fairly light craft, and it's basically got two of these... oh, what are these ones called? They're not the Junos, because the Junos are the basic ones. I can't remember. Also, how are the sound levels, by the way? Because it sounds fine to me, but of course I can't tell what you're necessarily hearing without starting the stream, and then that would be all weird and echoey and inception-y. So, yeah, basically... it's a jet engine on each end, and it gets a fairly ridiculous amount of thrust. The one I put on Kerbal, the kind of stock version, is rather more sensible looking, but it has enough thrust that even the propeller version, you can pretty much just do this, go more or less straight up, and I'm still accelerating. So yeah, pull push is really good for that on a small craft. Especially because you're getting two engines worth of thrust on a small craft without having to have a wide backside, if that makes any sense. And I don't know if having an engine on the front that's also giving thrust specifically along the line of the craft, it also helps it out, but even with the propeller configuration, it can basically do this. So yeah, it was kind of fun. You can pretty much just climb vertically upwards for several kilometers. So this is not a bad craft otherwise, but the one I built that's stock is definitely much more sensible. Let's see if we can do a little loop-de-loop. So yeah, I called this one the Armorama, but the stock version, well, on my my non-modded career mode, well, my almost non-modded career mode, I've been naming stuff after various Scottish companies because why not? So yes, I named that one after the Northlink Ferry Company, and the actual name itself refers to the geology of the Orkneys. So there you go. It's not just me making stuff up. Yeah, it kind of is. Like there was a German plane that had a pull-push configuration. I'm almost certain it was a Dornier prototype, but don't quote me on that. So yeah, that's a thing. I don't have the elephant jet engines, but I do have the Goliath turbofans, where I do have the elephant jet engines, which are in the mod pack, and I basically did the same thing because this has a thrust reverser as well. So look at that, that's a bit ridiculous. I like this design though, with the scaled up the big wings. I've done several variants of this at this point, so I won't show you that, but I will show you, which one was it? I made like a big heavy bomber version, so that's literally just, you know, a fuel tank in the bomb bay, and it's got an extended fuselage. Unfortunately, I had to move the wings out, which makes it look a little I'm not entirely, like, I don't entirely like that look, but yeah, this thing, even with like a full load of fuel and this, it can still take off the runway, but mostly because I'm using these very, very powerful turboprop engines, which are they're meant to be like the turboprops that the Tu-95 uses, which is, of course, is the Russian Air Force's strategic bomber. It's very, you know, Cold War design, much like the B-52. They've kept it going, and I think they more use it for long-range reconnaissance than anything else. But yeah, it's like one of the most powerful turboprop engines ever built, and it's fantastically loud, but it also has a very, very good long-range performance. So we're going to try and bomb the Space Center, and also I'm going to have to turn down the audio settings temporarily because, of course, these engines unfortunately have that annoying fire spitter bug. The Dornier DO335, that's exactly the one. I'm just going to pretend I knew it's that one. I just vaguely, I have a vague memory of, like, it was a very odd looking aircraft. But there are actually some advantages to that kind of design, because you can have, like with propeller driven aircraft, you actually get, anybody that's ever tried to play War Thunder in sim mode, like they actually do model the torque produced by the aircraft engine, and you can have it like cancel itself out, if you see what I mean. But there were other problems with the design. So anyway, yeah, it's kind of like almost the Lancaster with the tall boy bombs. It has to take off with the bomb bay open. Actually, they didn't even do that. They specially modified them, didn't they? I'm sure they did. Well, thanks for you. Wow, I'm wording well tonight. Thank you for stopping by, Weird Ben. I appreciate it. Even if it was only for even if you only could for a little short time. This thing, by the way, I've gotten this up about as high as I think it's possible to go with a turboprop plane, or with the turboprop engines from the mod anyway. I think it's Airplanes Plus that adds these. So yeah, it can get up to about 13,000. At that point you just don't have enough air, but because you've got this big wingspan and lots of wing area, it'll get it up there just fine. Now I might not get this right, because you actually have to give a surprising amount of lead. I've even put a drogue chute on this bomb. So let's try about here, and then we swap over, and then watch as it sails past all of the buildings. In theory, the drogue chute's going to slow it down enough to actually hit something, but no, didn't really start early enough. But anyway, yeah, it doesn't really do anything. It might not even be enough to actually damage a thing. But you know, I had fun mucking around and building that. So yeah, I built myself a big. I don't think this would count as a flying wing. I think this would count as a blended wing body. But still. So I haven't just been mucking around with planes though. I must hasten to add that. It's just if I have a spare 20-25 minutes or whatever, sometimes I'll just fire up KSP and muck around with some plane designs. I have been also trying to design my first interplanetary vessel for this this career mode, because of course with Galileo's Planet Pack you've got all these nice new planets to visit, so it seems a shame not to actually go and try and visit them. But it's still kind of in the testing stage, and more specifically the lander is in the testing stage. My plan is to get to Gratian, which is atmosphere wise it's kind of like Lethe in the stock system. I thought it was like Duna, and it looks like Duna, but the atmosphere is more analogous to Lethe. So I've been trying out different designs, and this is what I tried at first, and it really just wasn't working. So this is the next version, and basically the issue at the moment, I can get it to land, but the issue is then taking off again. So I think what I will do to begin with is start off trying to get this to work, because eventually this, the lander, will be mated with this thing here, which is basically a nuke powered very heavy on the life support interplanetary thingy. That was eloquent. Yeah, basically I got a bunch of the OPT spaceplane parts, and this thing here is, I think, from oh, it's like the expanded space station parts pack, and I can't remember what it's called exactly, but yeah, that basically can carry one crew, but it's also an RTG, so it ticks along and generates electricity. Oh, hey, Latika Mafia. And on the front here we've got two kind of little I don't know what you call these, utility trusses or something like that, where it's the heat radiators and solar panels, so it'll fly along and it'll have all these radiators and things sticking out. And the reason why it's got all these radiators is because it's nuclear powered. So oh, I forgot to click out there myself. Oh, I didn't need to do that, but never mind. We can actually click that away because it doesn't matter. Yeah, so it's two of the Nerve atomic engines, which are the stock atomic engines, and then it's this big 4 cluster of Nova engines, and I can't remember what pack that's from, what mod pack that's from, but it's from something. And the reason I've done this is, well, for your interplanetary vessels, nuclear engines are the way to go, because you just have to carry one type of fuel and they're very efficient. So this has a vacuum delta V of 6.8 at the moment. The plan is to, or 6.8 thousand meters a second, and the plan is to take 6 Kerbals, 4 scientists, and then an engineer and a pilot, because we're using the OPT mobile lab, which can take up to 4 scientists. So we'll be sending this off with something like 3+ years of life support, and I really hope that's enough. So this is more or less done. I think this is just about ready to go. I may not have actually set up action groups yet. Yeah, I just need to set up action groups basically, and there might be some final tweaking of bodging some more fuel tanks on, because these, if you're wondering what these lumpy bits are, these are actually the like saddle fuel tanks. They're like radial mount liquid fuel tanks, which are really handy. They hold 1,000 units of fuel each. So I might bodge some more of those on if I don't think it's enough delta V, but I'm largely happy with that as my actual transfer vehicle. I think that should do rather nicely. So it's just testing this lander, because we have to get them actually down to the surface and then back up again. Hey, flying goats. So yeah, this, I mean, the lander alone has if I look at yeah, I've got this set for Gratian at the moment, so 4.2k delta V and 4.6, and the plan is basically slow down as much as I can with parachutes, use these scaled down skipper engines to provide a final tiny bit of braking thrust, and then we've got a 2-stage takeoff lander. In fact, we've actually got a Beagle engine on the bottom here, which is a kind of variant of the LV909. It's more powerful, but it has less fuel efficiency. So the problem with this is, yeah, I was landing okay, but then I was having real difficulties taking off from Gratian. So I don't think I tried it with just the 2 skippers, and I think I've done a couple of other little tweaks, but the main thing was adding this Beagle. So we're actually going to try this, and we this is all, you know, we're just simulating this, you guys. It's just a simulation. This isn't actually happening. But yeah, I want to make sure this will work. It's kind of cheating a bit, because I'm going to be using the Alt F12 menu to get it to the orbit of Gratian, but the only other way to actually test it out would be to launch the rocket, send it there, you know, on this multi-year mission, and then find out the damn thing doesn't work. So I want to be sure it actually will have a reasonable success, or a reasonable chance of success first, which only seems reasonable. If I just remember what the hotkeys are. Okay, that's that. Did I do anything for 6? Yes, that was the landing ladder. Okay, so where are we? Alt F12. And actually, let's drop a save file here, just in case anything goes horribly wrong. And then we want, let's see, set orbit. Right, Gratian's actually a couple over as well, so it's not quite, it's not like, oh, that's the wrong button. It's not quite the same as getting to Duna. I think it's actually a bit harder to get to Gratian than it is to Duna. So here we are, and I'll be sort of bodging it a bit in that I will use MechJeb's landing thing a little bit. But I'm not going to use it to bring the ship the whole way down, because we're mostly, as I say, going to be relying on parachutes. Also, that's in the wrong place. That needs to be there. So, where are we? Right, we want to basically get round to where we're landing on the day side, so we'll actually warp first. Now, for some reason, when I shift that that decoupler staging, it then thinks I've got about 1300 less delta V, which is a bit weird. I don't know why. I think MechJeb's gotten a little bit confused by this configuration, but anyway. So, basically, we'll throttle up and we'll just pick somewhere that looks reasonably flat to land. The initial, like, I tried several different versions of the initial one that you saw, the Alcor pod, and I was having some, actually, I don't quite trust us not to come down over unsuitable ground there. Let's try that. Yeah, I built it with an inflatable heat shield, which I figured, you know, it's a heat shield and also it will slow us down as we're going through the atmosphere. And then it just ended up being really awkward with the staging and everything. So this is why it doesn't actually have any kind of heat shield on it. But it doesn't really need it. The atmosphere doesn't start until 60 kilometers, and then it's rather thinner than Gale, but I think it's thicker than Duna, because Duna's got a pretty damn thin atmosphere, whereas this, well, it's more like Lethe, as I've said. That's what they based it on. You know, if I do this, by the way, I've never been to any of the other planets beyond the moons of Kerbin in stock KSP, so this will be my actual first interplanetary mission that's successful. I've got one interplanetary probe mission that's in progress in my stock career, but I've never actually sent a manned mission to any of the other planets, so yeah. Well, it's funny you say that, Blood Dodie, because my save file for my stock career client is literally called Scottish Space Programme. But I suppose, yeah, I'm using the Scottish flag, so it kind of still is. So we're coming in at slightly less than the orbital speeds we'd be coming in at from Gale, because I think Gratian is slightly slower, and as you can see, it's also got a moon of its own called Gemmius. We'll actually quickly... So here we are. So we're... Yeah, it's Tolumo is the next one out from Gale, and then it's Gratian. But Tolumo is... landing on Tolumo is about the hardest thing you can do. Landing on Tolumo is... like Tolumo's like a nice Venus, basically. It has really high atmospheric density, and it's kind of like a super Earth. So it's got a breathable atmosphere for the Kerbals anyway, and it looks nice and pretty. It's all green and blue, but it's a really big planet with a steep gravity well, and then it's got really thick atmosphere, so it's incredibly hard to get down to the surface and back. It requires something like 7,000 meters a second of delta V to just lift off from the surface. Never mind the lander that you needed to actually, and the amount of delta V that you needed to get down there in the first place. So that's like the ultimate challenge if you're feeling especially brave. And it's kind of the same with stock KSP and Eve, pretty much. So we should be fine for... Oh, I meant to pop out the panel before I time warped, but we've got so much... Well, I say so much battery capacity. We've got sufficient battery capacity that it wasn't really an issue. I'm not going to pop out a solar panel just now. So, as you can see, it's basically fine without any kind of heat shield. But we are down to now about 13,000. In fact, we can use MechJeb's surface info panel to tell us how far we are above the actual surface. So we've only just gone through the heating effect, and we're now at like 8 kilometers already. So yeah, the thicker parts of the atmosphere are rather more compressed. So that's the drogue shoots out. We're already getting some effect from them, and then we're just waiting for us to slow down enough to safely deploy the main chutes. So there those go. We are still going to have to use a little bit of engine power to set down safely, otherwise the landing velocity is going to be a bit too high for these landing legs. So far so good. I mean, I've done this with the previous iteration of this design, which wasn't, as I've said, that much tweaked. The main addition was of this extra engine on the bottom. It's the taking off again from the surface that's going to be tricky. And I don't know if it's the aerodynamics that were the issue, or if it was just having not enough thrust. But anyway. So when we're about a kilometer above... So there's the main chutes. Like, the main chutes are only opening at a kilometer above. So we're going to click on MechJeb and tell him that we want to land. And MechJeb will actually basically land it at the velocity that I want it to be landed at. Because at the moment I could do it myself, but I'm really inefficient. MechJeb's probably really inefficient as well, but I panic and then throttle too much and then don't throttle enough, and I tried doing it manually and ended up just breaking things. So I'm basically telling MechJeb I want a touchdown speed of 5 meters a second, and he'll use just enough throttle to slow us down just above the surface. I know some people consider MechJeb to be a little cheaty, but like, there's a lot of stuff that MechJeb does that I just couldn't get by without it. Although I am now, I think I discussed this in the last stream, I actually demonstrated it in the last stream, I am now confident enough in manual docking that I can do that without MechJeb, which is a good thing, because MechJeb is not good at manual docking. Well, it can do it, but it is very inefficient. So it's throttling up just a little bit, just a touch, enough to break us down to a nice, relatively gentle landing, in theory. And there we are. So, as I've said, this part's fine. They can get down and It's all good. We've landed safely. We've got all the science. We've got our 2 brave astronauts who've come down from the Latika Mafia in orbit. And that's all good. But of course, they're going to want to get off the planet again at some point, aren't they? I'm actually just speeding this up so the solar panels charge the... Oh, there's weather. Oh, that's nice. There's like sandstorms. That's going to be the custom variant of the environmental visual pack or whatever it's called that adds stuff like that. But anyway, so yeah, we're just making sure we don't run out of power on the ascent, because that would be a bit bad. So we have, in theory, 1.79, almost 1.8 thrust to weight ratio with this kind of like the combined stage, and then with the upper stage we'll have 2.6, and the surface to lift is 1.7 as well. So like it should do it. It absolutely should do it. Why isn't that disappearing? There we go. So let's drop a quick save there, because we've got the separate save file to load from, which is exactly why I did that. And let's try just MechJeb and see what MechJeb does. Now let's try 65 kilometers, because that's our that's the point at which we actually get to space. And okay, and we're telling it to ditch that bottom stage once we actually get to where we want to be. So we're sitting here on the surface with 4.2k meters a second of delta V. Should be fine. Should be absolutely fine. Question is, will it actually be fine? So immediately, yeah, this. Right, I wonder if the fact that MechJeb wasn't like centerline was maybe causing a bit of that rockiness. But I think, I don't know, I've had partly an issue previously with a design where I had 2 outboard engines like this, and for some reason it caused rocking, and I don't know if that's what's going on here, because it might be, because how I've attached them is via these nose cones that I've then pulled away. But it was also, I don't know, I figured the extra engine and the extra TWR and the extra SLT would help, but no, it's not. I hoped this would have more oomph, and instead we're slightly having the same problem that I was having previously. But I might maybe try a different engine mounting. I mean, this might still make it to space, it's just this is wasting a lot of delta V. And in fact, why is it flipping over like that? I don't know. See, I don't know if this is the actual atmosphere that's causing me problems, or if it's the design. Because I've never tried to make this kind of craft before. Well, I mean, I have. There was the first version with the Alcor pod. I figured out, by the way, I noted in some previous streams that some of my other craft had horrible frame rates, and it turns out it's the Alcor pod. For some reason, that particular mod, I don't know what it is about it, but it really does a number on the frame rate anytime that's on. So yeah. Right, so the apoapsis is above our current height, but not by much. And we are really, like, we're burning through the delta V, and we've still got about 20 seconds on this lower stage, but we're just going to see how it goes. I mean, the lower stage is literally just fuel tanks, landing legs, and that Beagle engine. But the last time I tried that, we didn't have this engine. So maybe that will make enough difference to get it to orbit, but obviously there are still issues to be resolved here. So we're going to keep going. Hopefully this will be a clean separation. It seems to handle like your planes. Is that a compliment, or? And there we go. That's away, and suddenly we're flipping. Don't do that. Why we're flipping? KSP plus. I would guess because we've just had a sudden shift in the center of mass. So maybe I need to have more mass down here, but I think it's this outboard engine design, because our apoapsis is only about 200 meters above our current altitude. So that doesn't work as is. That absolutely does not work as is. So back to the drawing board with that one. Well, not quite. I know the tweak I'm going to make with that. We need to basically find a different way to mount those engines to the outside. I think those engines are fine, but the other issue that was clearly raised there is that it becomes top heavy. So maybe this stuff here, at least some of it, needs to be shifted down here. Anyway, so we can just click recover vessel on that. This probably won't be a particularly long stream, by the way. It's mostly going to be testing this thing. I might get as far as launching the Latika Mafia, but it still needs a launch vehicle built for it. It's really only the actual interplanetary stage that's more or less finished. So, yeah, back to the vehicle assembly building. I think when I launch it, by the way, I'm probably going to do it as a separate stream. And I'm going to make sure that I have no other manned craft in orbit, because we'll just be time warping the thing, which is going to be time warping some quite large chunks of time. So, right. I kind of like how it looks at the moment, but it is like these bits here are purely visual. So the engines were attached to the nose cone with that particular configuration, but that's what was causing the issue for some reason. So I need to find a different way of doing it, and we do have maybe some options. Well, trying to think. My initial thought is the radial mounting pieces, but I can't remember where they are. Oh, here we go. That's too big. There we go. I knew there were some ones in the right size. So it's essentially adding just another piece, but the question is it far away enough? Yes, it is. So, theoretically, that should be fine. And as to whether that actually resolves my weird oscillating issues or not, I don't know, but I kind of hope it will do. So the other problem is that we have, once we ditch this stage, we have a real issue with it. If I look at the center of mass at the moment, it just about sits in the middle. If I take that away, I would have said that still should be more or less fine, but maybe I would be wrong. And if I shift the engines down, that obviously shifts the center of mass down. Maybe, would it help to put on some fins? I mean, it's a bit of a basic bodge fix. Would a nose cone on the top? It might do. But the problem is, oh, didn't mean to do that. The problem is with the nose cone on the top is there's no, I don't have shielded docking ports yet. So I can't put a nose cone over the top without obscuring the docking port, and the docking port is how it's going to be attached to the mothership. So we need that to be kind of unobstructed. If this was something I was launching, it is entirely possible to where's an appropriately sized nose cone? You can actually toggle, like you could hotkey, you could stick on an action group that and tell it that you want to decouple node, and it's almost like the equivalent of using a separator. the nose cone would then fall off, but there's no way to attach the nose cone when it's in space because this is going to be on the nose of the Latika Mafia. So that is kind of tricky. And I can't stick it on the bottom, obviously, because that's where the rocket is, and if I stick it on the side, well, I don't really have space on the side, but that's going to cause a whole host of new problems. So yeah, it's all a little bit tricky at the moment. I could try the basic solution. Which is just some basic fins. Although these fins, having said that, the basic fins will probably just burn off because they have a really poor temperature. Yeah, they would just burn off during re-entry. I could do some of these winglets, but just scale them. Because at the moment that's rather ridiculously huge, but if I scaled that to like 50%, I don't know how much this would help, but I don't, like, this is just me trying stuff. Well, it would be. Also, for the actual mission, I've loaded up a special flag, so when we fly the actual mission, instead of the saltire, it'll have this flag on the side because it seemed appropriate. I should probably do that for all the craft. Have the flag of their respective, you know, person loaded into the folder, ready to go. But I've been a bit lazy, and I don't know where. Like most of the things I've named after people, I don't actually know where the respective people come from. So anyway, Finland will into space apparently. That was about there on that side. So those fins don't obstruct anything. I'm kind of hoping this will be enough. Maybe. And if not, I could basically put the whole mission off and wait until like, if it maybe is this that's causing too much drag. Yeah, I could get the shielded docking port. Although I don't think the shielded docking ports, honestly, there was somebody did some testing and the shielded docking port doesn't reduce drag by that much. And it's like extra weight for nearly no benefit. Oh, coupling, there we go, being coupling. So yeah, it's all a little bit awkward, and I don't have the regular, like, I've got all these Mark II and spaceplane inline docking ports, including this huge OPT docking port, but yeah, that's a bit awkward for a craft this size, and also it's the wrong form factor. So what we really want is a docking port that, I mean, I could, in theory, like, bodge just a docking port on the side, but that would make actually docking it later on really difficult, and also it would have to fly, like, it would have to be docked on the nose that way. I don't know, maybe that's that's an option if we're still having trouble with it. I might do that, because maybe it is this causing too much drag. It's just the drag's going to be on the side, but it might make it oscillate less. So that's some fins, and then I don't know, is there anything else I could, like, I've shifted the radial mount fuel tanks down to the bottom. I've shifted the engine down, so that moves the center of mass down. Is there anything in this little service bay? Because the service bay is mostly science experiments. I can actually, what is the hotkey? What did I do for the hotkey for the service bay? Oh, that was 6. Okay, that's fine. I should probably move those actually. Those might be blocking the service bay, which would be a bad thing. Right, so... Oh, I want to move that mech jeb. Yeah, I wonder if the mech jeb placement was causing some conniptions. Maybe. Let's move the mech jeb down there. Okay, so that's the same number of parachutes as before. Yeah, why won't you let me open the service bay? There we go. Yeah, Vens kind of changes the service bay so the doors are transparent in the editor, but it's a lot harder to then actually click on them. So I've got the mystery goo container and the atmospheric analysis experiment, and that's it. So I guess we'll leave that as is. Unless I could find some way to bodge them onto the capsule itself, but the atmospheric thing is actually quite bulky. And there's a lot of the space that's already taken up, as you could see. I mean, while we're here, let's just try it and see what happens. So let's... Oh, of course, that's the root part. Let's pull those out. There's probably some experienced KSP player somewhere that will look at this and think, oh, well, I know what the problem is at just an immediate glance. And it's a horrible design and, you know, etc., etc. But, yeah, I'm just kind of feeling my way here because, like I said, I've never done this kind of a craft before. Right, actually, that then would be fine in that position again, wouldn't it? Right, so I guess we could just literally cover up the entire flag and have the atmosphere analysis unit there. Now, I hope this will then... I think my main thought with putting it inside a little service bay was with the re-entry heat. I guess I mean, it should be fine, maybe? I don't know. I basically want the experiments that we need to reset within reach of the hatch, so a scientist can pop out and reset them, but the rest of it doesn't matter so much. Because we can just, you know, right click on the experiment storage thing. Anyway, so do I... Oh, I meant to do that. Oh, well, I am clicking all the wrong things right now. I just wanted to shift it down slightly. Instead, I clicked the thing to put on 50 bazillion of them instead. Right. Hey, Uncommon and Omicron and Nikos. I just had a thought. We've got this little space here. Could we put on a better comms dish, or is that going to be... That's kind of huge. And it's also going to add a bit of cost, but it's not that bad, actually. It would certainly be a better comms dish than the Communitron. Okay, let's try it with this comms dish. I can always scale it down slightly. Scale it to, say, 70%. Which shouldn't really cause too many aerodynamic problems. Right, I'll set that on the same thingy. Right, so, and Hotown, hello Hotown, and Asriel, and other people. Where have you all turned up from then? Has Max or somebody just stopped streaming? Okay, let's give this a go. So we've got the new engine mountings, we've got a couple of tweaks, we've got some fins on our finished spacecraft, we've got some redistributed weight, hopefully. I think this should be good to go. Let's try this again. I actually haven't killed that many people. I think I've just killed Jeb so far. Well, okay, I stand corrected then, Sombra. Right, save game. And we'll just do the same thing. Press our hotkey and things will start. It gives it a slightly odd aspect, but anyway. I don't know, I mean, I just said that. I wasn't casting aspersions or anything, Sombra. It's just, you know, with a bunch of people turning up at the same time, then one tends to make assumptions. You've been playing Spin Tires. Oh, I've seen plenty of videos on Spin Tires. It seems like one of these games where there's not a lot of game, but you can kind of just enjoy the driving around and getting yourself stuck and then unstuck, which is a little bit like KSP, really. So, let's do the same thing, warp ourselves around, and this time we won't be low on battery power like we were last time because I'd not extended the thing prior to time warping. Playing Factorio. Factorio seems like a pretty good game. It's actually one I've been a bit tempted by myself, but then I'm one of these people for whom it would probably be a stupendous time sink, and so I've avoided it because the people I've watched that play it have... Oh, why don't we have any Kerbals on board? What? Well, we have no control because we have no Kerbals, and we have no... like, we just barely have enough range for the antenna. Right, there should be Kerbals. There aren't Kerbals. Anyway. Let's try that again. But yeah, I love like the game. It kind of, I look at it and reminds me the most of is Open Transport Tycoon. In fact, I played the original Transport Tycoon when that was a thing. Well, Transport Tycoon Deluxe to be exact. But yeah, that's all about setting up, you know, networks and systems and supply routes and, you know, overcoming congestion and refining and, you know, it's all that kind of thing. And Factorio seems like exactly that sort of game. And so I would probably lose myself. So, yes, once again... Alt F12, set orbit around Gratian. And why did I turn the lights off? I don't know. I finally figured out what the hotkey for that is. And I'm just abusing it mercilessly, apparently. I don't know if that, how loud is the music in the background for you guys? I might turn it up slightly. Oh, we're still... I didn't actually... Oh, I was wondering why it sounded so quiet, because I turned it down for putting on that that plane earlier on. You've probably been able to barely hear anything. There we go. Yeah, I forgot to turn the sound back up after we were doing the turboprop. From the Depths, that seems like another game that you could seriously sink a lot of time into. Right, so we'll... stow the solar panel and the comm dish. Toggle on the engines. Okay, that was a rather ominous rumble. Right, hopefully the sound level is now not too loud. It shouldn't be. So using a little bit of Delta V to land hopefully somewhere relatively flat. Now we can just time warp until we hit the top of the atmosphere. And basically the same procedure where we point ourselves retrograde, and well, we'll see if the fins should be fine, but we'll see if the science experiments like stay where they're supposed to and don't explode. The not exploding part is quite important. Hey Quickie Toes, thanks for joining us. Thanks for tuning in. So this part's fairly boring, and we were just waiting until we get through the atmosphere, basically. I'm actually going to get some water while we're doing this bit, and then I'll come back just in time to see everything exploding, probably. Watch out for Michael Bay. Michael Bay is the Kraken, IRL. He just loves explosions. Logs for Russian BBs. I can just imagine someone making a mod for World of Warships where, like, we probably will get a Russian battleship line at some point. There is actually enough material for it to happen. I didn't believe it, but no, there is. But yeah, no, I would love that if somebody made a mod where you've just got like this big log hanging off the back of your battleship. That would be quite amusing. That would rather amuse me. Well, I was trying to think of a different word there, and then I failed, and so I said amusing and amuse, and that was good. That was so good. I'm a regular Shakespeare. I am, absolutely, yes. Anyway, so this is fine. We're not actually. Let's check the heat overlay. Yeah, no, this is fine. I mean, the lower part is taking the brunt of it, which it should be. We're not getting excessive heating anywhere in particular. I don't know why this heating, this kind of like fan heating effect happens in particular. This is the first time I've seen this on any of my craft entering an atmosphere. I'm not sure if that's because I've got these side mount engines, or if it's something about the craft specifically, or I don't know. But it produces this great big flickery. It's kind of cool to look at, but I honestly have no idea why it does it. It's slightly hypnotic. Oh, we're actually getting a little bit of wiggle there. That's interesting. That wasn't happening before. Don't you flip yourself. Why are you trying to flip yourself? Where are we? Aero Forces overlay. Yeah, for some reason... It shouldn't... I don't know, it shouldn't be... Like, it might be the fins, or it might be these new radial mountings, but for some reason it's starting to try and turn itself a bit. But we're still pointing retrograde, which is fine. We want the hottest part to go on the bottom, because everybody wants a hot bottom. This is well known. It's a very important concept in rockets, is hot bottoms. Yes. There you go, Sombra. There's your bit of innuendo for the week. I should probably put like a you know, PG-13 rating in the channel title, because it's getting a bit saucy in here. Yes. Anyway, so we're just about through the worst of it. It seems to peter out at about 10 kilometers. So yeah, that's dying down now. Wow, Sombra. Wow, I am not repeating that for the benefit of YouTube. I am absolutely not repeating that. Why is it always you that says these things? I don't know. Anyway, there we go. So we've hit about 10 kilometers true altitude, 12 kilometers above sea level. Not that there are seas on Gratian. As you can see, it's yeah, it's basically Duna. I think it's a different size than Duna, but it is basically Duna. No, I'm not responsible for anything. You can't make me take responsibility. I refuse. Right, we'll bring up the landing guidance panel so we can bodge it like we did last time. What are we going to do once we're landed? Well, this is all just testing, Quickie Toes. I want to make a lander that will actually, you know, not kill people and not strand people. So once we've landed, we're going to try and take off again, and hopefully it will go better than it did last time. And this attempt to land and then take off will be about the 6th time I've tried this? Or is it the 7th? I don't know. Be glad I didn't make you sit through all of the testing and the tweaking and the redesigning on a stream. That would have been a long stream with not all that much going on. So there's the main chutes deployed. Which get us, I mean, it gets us down to about like 15 meters a second, which is just a little too much for the landing legs. But yeah, the textures are really nice, by the way. I'll zoom out a bit. These big marching dunes off into the distance. Anyway, so there we go. They're starting to deploy. True altitude is about 500 meters. Or actually, no, we're slowed down more than we were last time. But we'll still use the mech jeb feature to slow us down just before landing. Yeah, I used the cheat menu and like teleported it to orbit Quickie Toes. This is all. I should, like, a lot of people that stream KSP, they'll have a simulation mode where they're just testing things out, and they're not doing it for reals, and that's what I'm doing here. Except I've been too lazy to actually put up a proper overlay in OBS. You'll just have to take my word for it that this is all, you know, this is all happening in a computer. This is them back at Space Center in on Gale. They're playing Kerbal Space Program on a computer inside Kerbal Space Program. It's all very meta. Yes, that's what's happening right now. Trees. I'm not seeing any trees, Quickie Toes. Just saying. I am, however, seeing quite a nice view of the only moon. That looks like quite a big moon as well, or at least it does from this distance. How close in orbit is that? Okay. About 10 million miles. Or 10 million kilometers, rather. And there we go, touchdown. So, we're down. That's fine. As ever, that portion has worked perfectly. I actually wonder, do we have enough for a signal back to KSP, or KSC rather? Yeah, with this dish we actually have a weak signal all the way back to the Space Center. So even without the benefit of a mothership, this thing potentially could contact the Space Center. So, we'll do what we did last time. We'll just time warp it so we draw in a little more electrical power. Should be fine. And why is that giving me that? I don't want to know how much wastewater the command pod has. Why have you given me that overlay? Why won't that overlay go away? I don't know. So many questions, so few answers. There we go. Yeah, sometimes you have to toggle things on and off because the UI elements stick to the screen when you don't want to. Uncommon. Wow, that's too meta for me. That is, my mind is blown right now. I can't handle that level of meta. Anyway, you know, if God was playing the equivalent of Kerbal Space Program, that would explain a few things about our own world. So, ascent guidance. We're going to try the same thing again. We're going to quick save. I'm going to try it with MechJeb, and then we're going to try it without MechJeb and see if it makes any particular difference. And we're still getting oscillations. I don't think it's as bad this time, though. But it's still kind of bad. In fact, if anything, that might be worse. The only thing I can think to do, I mean, if I ditch these rockets here entirely, why is it doing this? I don't know. I don't know if it's MechJeb though, but there's one way to find out. Yeah, I thought the fins might make a difference. Because, you know, something. You can make a pun there about Finland, probably. And fins making a difference. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't quite seem to be... Anyway, so we're trying this now manually. And that's exactly the same thing. Why are we getting this rocking? So yeah, I might have to just ditch these side rockets altogether and rethink this booster design. The actual pod and experiments and everything are fine, but there's something about this that it's not happy with. Oh, you mean have like four-way rockets but less powerful rockets, like rather than just two on the sides? It's a little bit awkward because it blocks the ladder, but we could maybe... Yeah, we could maybe try that. I could try different rockets that have less force. Let's bring up the... I mean, the aerodynamic overlay doesn't seem to suggest anything particularly untoward happening. I don't know. Well, there is. I mean, we're probably outside of the outside of the atmosphere where the fins would actually be useful already, and we're only about 6 kilometers up because it's a rather thin atmosphere. But it's something about the center of thrust, or I don't think it's a drag problem. Maybe it's. But if I turn off MechJeb and turn on SAS... Ah! I wonder if it's MechJeb. So let's try this without using... Oh, without using MechJeb and just using good old-fashioned in-game SAS and see if that does the trick. Maybe it's something about MechJeb not liking this design. Because I could go and redesign it for MechJeb and it would be a heavier ascent stage because we'd have to... But I could either have extra engines, and I mean, the more we add, the more delta V cost there is. So I have to find delta V. But if I could just kind of bodge it and just use this and be like, okay, we're going to turn off MechJeb, but our ascent into orbit's probably going to be horrible. I don't know. I mean, we're still getting a little bit of rocking here. But it might be MechJeb overcompensating, because MechJeb can do that sometimes. This kind of side engine design. And you could maybe then turn off the gimbaling and see if that helps with MechJeb. But, tell you what, yeah, let's try that. I think we seem to have narrowed it down to MechJeb being a primary culprit here. Culprit, even. Culprit isn't a word. I mean, it could be. In some language it might be a word, but it's not a word in the language I speak, which is of course gibberish. Let's turn off the gimbals of these outer engines and see if that makes any difference to MechJeb. Because maybe that'll be enough. I don't know. Okay, it's still rocking a bit, but it's not oscillating as much. It is still oscillating though, even without the gimbal of those. Like, even if I turn that gimbal off, then it's going to now struggle to actually control where it wants to go, because then we're just relying on the reaction wheels of the pod, which aren't going to be enough. So yeah, let's see if we can get to orbit without MechJeb then, which I think in theory I can probably manage. Won't be a particularly efficient orbit, however. Right. So I'm going to have to pay attention and make sure I stage at the correct time as well. Right, hopefully I'm taking off in the correct direction. I think I am. I want to be taking off, like, going this way around the planet, so we get the benefit of the... So we're not working against the planet's rotation as we're taking off, which you don't want to do. Orhun, I'm not sure I understand your problem, and hello by the way. Every time you time warp, is it doing something to your station when you time warp? Is that what you're saying? That sounds like you've got a problem with the station, and then when it just does the physics stabilization, when you come out of the warp, is it throwing it to bits? You might have to elaborate a bit there. Right, so I'm keeping a little eye on. We've got the orbit info here, which is showing me my apoapsis. Oh, hello. What have I managed to do there? No, pointing it the wrong way. This is why I don't do manual takeoffs. I am absolutely terrible at using the nav ball to point in the direction I actually want to go. I forget which way is which. Oh, no, no, not that way. I am wasting so much delta V right now. Okay. Alright, that's kind of... Okay, we're a little more stable now. We're not going to completely... Am I high enough in the atmosphere? We're not... no, we need to be over 60 kilometers to get to orbit. So it's 70 kilometers for Gale and Kerbin. For Gratian, it's 60 kilometers. So, that's fine. Apoapsis is fine. We're coming up on our stage separation. This was a problem last time because, of course, it started flipping out of control. And I don't know if we've done enough to actually rectify that problem. So let's turn a little more sideways. Oh, we're actually launching into a polar orbit? I didn't mean to launch into a polar orbit. This is why I used MechJeb to take off. I didn't realise I was launching into a polar orbit. Right, drop the bottom tanks, and it's fine. So it was literally just MechJeb freaking out the first time. Yeah, I mean, we just want to know whether it can get to orbit or not, but if it means I have to do a manual takeoff, there's going to be lots of quick saving and quick loading when it comes to the actual mission. But, I mean, rather than go back and do a redesign and make it more expensive and heavier, which is going to mean finding more Delta V for the interplanetary vehicle, I think we might just go with this and remember to do a manual takeoff when the time comes. Because for some reason MechJeb really doesn't like this design. So the disadvantage of using something like MechJeb is, yeah, if you make a design that MechJeb doesn't know what to do with, you can get a bit stuck. Right, apoapsis is 66 kilometers. Create node to circularize. It's a little bit less than it would be for, yeah, but it's still, that's fine. That's going to give us enough delta V to maneuver around absolutely. So yeah, this is a one-shot deal. We can land on one place and come back up with what we've got. But it will take off, and it will have enough fuel on it to re-rendezvous with the interplanetary vehicle, and then at that point it'll come home. So I'm just going to circularize and actually do all the final finagling to get to where I need to be. Make sure it all properly works. But you know, it seems to. I still think that looks really odd with the dish sticking out one side and the thing sticking out the other, but I mean, as long as it does what I need it to. Yeah, MechJeb really doesn't like a pair of rockets sticking out the side like that. I mean, it really doesn't. MechJeb! MechJeb, what are you doing, MechJeb? Why? Wow, MechJeb's having a little funny. Because the alternative with the redesign is basically like make it a miniature two-stage actual rocket, and so we'd have a rocket motor and then the bottom stage below that, and then it would just end up being a much taller vehicle. I don't know why MechJeb's having a problem with this. Maybe if I add another engine, that might do it. Yeah, maybe Nemo, I think you're right. So we're getting there. I feel like we are getting there. This is one of those designs, one of those processes in KSP where it's like, okay, it's going to take a while to refine it to the point where it will actually do what I want it to do. But that's fine. This is a complicated thing. We're flying to another planet, and we're doing so with a life support mod. So we have to make sure everyone can actually, you know, survive. And yeah, Cerno News Network. I do have RCS thrusters on it, but that's purely so it can dock with the mothership when it gets back to orbit. It's got 15 units of monoprop, and it would burn through that very quickly trying to stabilize. So that's why it's got these RCS clusters. That's pretty much the only reason. So we're almost there. I feel like we've almost finalized this. Hey CM, I had fun blowing up CM earlier and not blowing up CM as well. We won't talk about that. There were no KV2 fails, and anybody that says that I fail at KV2 is clearly lying, and there will be absolutely no video evidence of any sort to corroborate that. Yes. Are you jealous, Sombra? Oh, I should not open that can of worms. I should absolutely not. No, be good. Resist, brain. Right, we'll ditch the fins. I don't think the fins actually do us any good. I'm role playing as Sweden now. I don't know. It's late. Anyway, right, we need that to be kind of in the opposite place to the legs, really, or that's a bit awkward. However, because we can't have it be in the way of the ladder. You've got a Twitch affiliate thingy. Oh, is that with the new... Yeah, because they're rejigging how it kind of... Oh, no, that's right in the way of the... Yeah, they've kind of rejigged it, haven't they? I should probably look into that again myself, because they've added a new way of, like... How about that? Is that going to clip through the... I don't want to burn off the landing legs with the engines. That would be a bit, you know... bit of an issue. I'm trying to find just a good... About there, maybe? It's not blocking anything. Right, so, we could potentially... I was thinking of, like, derating the engines, but I could potentially just pull that Poodle engine off the bottom. Or, not the Poodle, the Beagle. And, yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll test and see if this works. There are other options in terms of engines, though, if I'm using suddenly 3 instead of 2. Well, I have more than 3 viewers, but the certain number of hours a week might be a problem. Yeah, let's make money from streamers without giving them partnership perks. Yeah, it's... I mean, yeah, it kind of is. But it's... For some people, it's going to be a foot in the door, and it probably will be easier to go to full partnership from that status than doing it from scratch. Because the last time I applied, I think the issue was that I wasn't streaming enough hours a week. So if I did streaming more regularly as a thing, I think it would be fine, but it's finding the time to fit in streaming amongst all the other things. Right, okay, let's try this. Let's try this 3-engined variant. I'm saying nothing, Sombra. I'm saying nothing. It's probably for the best. Let's not throw, you know, fuel on the fire. Or possibly ammunition. Let's not throw ammunition on the fire. Which is pretty much what I'd be doing. Right. Okay, Delta V wise... You know, this thing could pretty much... I thought this thing could pretty much just take off from Gale and maybe just about get to orbit. It might not quite have enough Delta V, but I mean that's about the level of Delta V that's required for Gratian as well, or Gratian, however you say it. Right, once again, let's drop a save file. Once again, we're going to use the cheat menu and put ourselves in orbit. It's a pity I can't just put myself right on the surface of Gratian, but I don't know if that's possible. And it always puts me just about close to the Terminator when I do this, and I don't know why. See you, Aimless. Thanks for dropping in. Hopefully we entertained you for a little bit. I know I'm doing this stream at a very antisocial hour, but you know, I'm an antisocial guy, so it kind of fits, right? Right, let's get the engines activated and what's a point of retrograde. Boot up the engines. Try and plonk ourselves down somewhere reasonably flat. Okay, that has a lot more thrust now. That's fine. Okay. Pulling the solar panel and the thing, and also the legs. Yeah, I know you're in NA uncommon. I'm probably more likely to like just get the casual NA viewers. Oh no, I don't want to time warp. In the atmosphere, but well, I mean, I would be if this were an evening where I think Des Valdez was streaming earlier, and then EJSA is doing, or he was doing things. Oh, he's actually stopped doing things now. I've just refreshed it. So we're actually second on the list of KSP streamers now. But yeah, there were 2 very big streamers earlier on who had maybe like 1,300 people between them. So yeah, Rocket PC's just ahead of us. I'll probably host him when I'm done. And I don't think I actually recognise any of the other people. Yeah, KSP is weird. It's kind of like World of Tanks in some ways, in that there's just one or two really big streamers that do it regularly as a thing. And then there's lots and lots and lots of small streamers. There don't seem to be really many kind of medium-sized KSP streamers. So, yeah, it's either very big or very little. So, yeah, we're actually doing alright. We're second on the list at the moment. So, once again, plunging into the atmosphere, this time without that middle engine. We'll see if this this configuration is more stable. It's the takeoff that's the thing that's, you know, causing us conniptions. Yes, guaranteed success. Stream World of Warplanes, exactly Blue Oval. No one will beat you. I've done that myself. I briefly streamed World of Warplanes, probably like in 2015. I can't remember. Maybe. Or maybe it was like early 2016. I don't know. I think I streamed it for like an hour and then I just couldn't do it anymore. But you know, I was the leading World of Warplanes streamer in the world. It's just I was the only World of Warplanes streamer in the world at that particular moment. And of course, Circon's done the exact same thing, because he and Fly, I think again this is going back a couple of months, but he and Fly played a couple of hours one stream and actually sort of managed to enjoy themselves, but I think it was more because they were playing together. And even mediocre games can be more fun if you get to play them with a person that you enjoy playing games with. Well, you say that, Sombra. I'm actually, like, I suspect that, I mean, they've paid for the infrastructure for warships and for tanks. And World of Warplanes, you know, for the respective server regions, there's probably like a single server rack somewhere that hosts the entirety of World of Warplanes for each separate server region. So, you know, they've already paid for the space in the data centers. I'm sure it doesn't cost them much in terms of the infrastructure and all that to keep Warplanes going. And in terms of like the staff levels, it's probably not very high. That would be the main cost more than anything else. Right, once again, we're getting a little bit of wiggle. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I remember back in 2015, I asked about this. I actually asked Victor Kisley, you know, do you have plans for a grand reboot? And they really haven't. I mean, he said at the time that they weren't done with Warplanes yet. And we actually got an interesting tidbit about how they delayed Warships by, is it like 6 months, a year, something like that? Just because they looked at the experience of Warplanes and thought, we put this out too early, it wasn't ready yet. And so instead of having that bout of fatal overconfidence about warships, I said Warplanes again there, they instead took the extra time to make it a much better game. Not that it's perfect, but if it had come out a year early, I don't think it would be doing as well as it is now. But if they are continuing to maybe still try and put a bit of effort into it, I mean, honestly, what it needs right now more than anything else is like advertising. It needs exposure. I think the game is certainly more fun than it was when it came out. They mechanically have certainly worked on it a fair bit, but it's getting people to remember that it's a thing and not just the punchline to a joke. That's the tough part, is overcoming the reputation that Warplanes now has. That can be fatal for a game, especially an online multiplayer game. If it acquires the reputation of like if it has a really rocky start, actually overcoming that can be incredibly difficult. What was that game that came out that was all about asymmetric gameplay? And you had one team of a couple of hunters, and then you had one team that was playing, you know, the other team would be one guy that was playing as a monster. And that had some real problems on launch with game balance, and that kind of hobbled it severely, because there was a lot of interest going into it because of that asymmetric game design, which is a really hard thing to do well, for obvious reasons. And no, it didn't quite work. Right, we should put the first parachutes. Oh no, we didn't do the staging correctly. Knickers. Okay, problem, you guys. Problem. Well, that was a bunch of time I just wasted because I didn't reconfigure the staging. Right, did I quick save it in orbit? I have a feeling I didn't quick save it in orbit. Evolve, there we go. Yeah, that was the game. Well, oh yeah, the DLC stuff was more, I think that was a bit of a false, no, we're back here. I think that was a bit of a false controversy with the DLC situation for Evolve, because it was a lot of like art and cosmetic stuff. I think it was just the sheer amount of it. But, I think, who was it that did it was like Total Biscuit or somebody did a video where they pointed out at that kind of late stage of the game, like the art people, their job's done pretty much. So if they're then working on a bunch of cosmetic DLC stuff, it doesn't actually affect the launch of the game at all, because that's all the programmers and, you know, that are doing all that kind of side of things. Wait, why? What? What's happened here? I don't... Wait, why are we just falling straight down? Okay, now we're in orbit. That was weird. The cheat menu bugged out. And it basically put me in a stationary point above the orbit, and so I was just going to fall straight down, which would have been really bad. Okay then. That was slightly odd. Yeah, the fact that you have free XP and your gold shared between tanks and warplanes. Like, I think, I mean, I'm sure I've said this in a video at some point. You know, one of the main reasons that you might, as a tanks player, want to get warplanes is because they're quite generous with the weekend specials and everything in warplanes. Because right, this time we're going to make sure that's in the right place. Because you know, they want to encourage people to play, so you might, well, as a tanks player, jump in, you know, get like, I don't know, 500% bonus free XP. Yeah, I bet it's not that generous, but you know, some kind of weekend bonus or whatever, and then you actually get the benefit of that in World of Tanks. Anyway, that was an awfully long-winded way to say what I was trying to say there. Because you know me, I'm concise always to a fault. Did I say it was 60 kilometers for the atmosphere before? Because I think it might actually even be 50. Yeah, it's 50. So let's pull that in. I've quick saved it this time, so we're not going to do the same thing again. And I've also made sure the staging is correct, so we're also not going to release that at an inopportune moment. Because we really do need that bottom stage, which is now just fuel tanks and the landing legs, to get off this rather dusty looking planet. So yeah, when I put this VOD up on YouTube, it's basically going to be a lot of me talking over this landing over and over and over. But not every stream can be the exciting stuff. Sometimes you've got to knuckle down and figure out how you're actually going to get things to work before you then send them off for real. Because if I'd done it for real, it would have taken about 6 or 7 missions before I got the actual lander design that worked, which would have been incredibly expensive, and also would have killed a lot of astronauts as they slowly suffocated on the surface, which wouldn't exactly have gotten me a lot of funding. Yeah. Have I tried Armored Warfare? I haven't. I think Ginge did, but I just haven't bothered to download it again. And from what I've heard from people who have played it, there's been some weird changes since mail.ru took over the development. and it does awfully sound like it's going the way of a lot of mail.ru things, where they just try and maximize the amount of money that they milk out of people, which is a real disappointment, because despite the fact that like Obsidian had this vision for what they wanted it to be, and then mail.ru came in and said, no, we basically want it to be more or less like World of Tanks, but not quite. Different enough to actually seem like a different game, but familiar enough that people can, you know, jump over from one to the other. And okay, fair enough. You know, you can see that as a publisher just being cautious and trying to go with what works. But then mail.ru has this reputation with their other online games, which I think is probably going to turn out to be all too true with Armored Warfare as well. So yeah, I don't know. I keep an eye on it, but I'm not. With all the stuff that I've heard and read and everything that's been going on, it's like I'm not now interested enough to like go and even just spend the time that it would take to download the thing, much less give it coverage on the channel. Because I don't know, there was a promise of a good game there, and then, you know, mail.ru happened. Well, it was there from the start. It's funny, even like remembering back to when it was announced and who was publishing it, a lot of people were like, well, Obsidian, you know, it was Obsidian that got people excited. It was Obsidian that got people interested. It was mail.ru that made people wary, because they knew their reputation and they knew what they'd done with other games. And now that Obsidian is out of the picture, it makes me very wary. So I think, I don't know. It might be fine, and I hope it's fine, and I hope it doesn't end up like some of other mail.ru's online free-to-play games. Because you know, competition for World of Tanks is good, and it is much more direct competition than, say, War Thunder. But we'll see. We'll see. I might well download it again. Oh, I got you working on it. Okay. Well, I'm just saying, hey, you know, don't blame me. Anyway. Oh yeah, I've seen some of the controversy. Like, Gaijin seems to lurch from one thing to the other, so I mean, if anything makes me reinstall War Thunder, it'll be when boats go into like open beta. I'm not like, I got into the open or the closed beta even for ground forces, and I could maybe try and wrangle access for the naval forces. And they have announced that they're going to do destroyers. They unveiled that the Royal Navy Tribal class destroyer is going to be in. Presumably there will be destroyer-sized vessels for other nations. So the testing with torpedo boats has obviously been successful enough that they feel confident to try ships that are actual ships. So yeah, that could be interesting, but we'll see how that goes. Yeah, I remember the 20 tier system. Yeah, I've been playing that long. Well, with planes I've been playing that long. It kind of made more sense, and then it's when they started compressing things and battle ratings came in that, I don't know, and they made some fairly major changes to the economy as well. And there aren't even, like, it used to be like kind of like World of Tanks in that you didn't have a daily for each thing, but you had a daily for each nation, a ×2 bonus, and they don't even do that anymore. So I don't know, they just seem to have gotten stingier and stingier towards the players. But I've had some fun in War Thunder in the past, and you know, I've bought 1 or 2 premiums. I think I bought one in particular. I can't remember what it was now, but it was some Soviet thing, and I bought it, and then I realised I really should have done some research, because actually it wasn't that good. But you know, I just kind of assumed it's Soviet, it's Gaijin, so therefore it'll be overpowered, right? Anyway, But yeah, ATGMs do seem to kind of, but not really, but kind of be a problem. I've also seen clips of things like RU-251s running around and murdering all the things. Oh, yeah, I clicked the auto land button a little too soon there. But it's fine. I don't think I wasted too much Delta V. Oh, the bow fighter. I actually quite enjoyed the bow fighter. It's one of these things that I'm bad enough at War Thunder, or I was bad enough, I still would be bad enough, that, you know, if you put me in a plane that's kind of OP, I start to approach average. So, yeah. Right, so we're nearly there. We'll actually just time warp down this last little bit. Once again, landing on the surface. I do like the pattern that the things make. And that's Ven's, by the way, the rejig of the parachutes. The drogue chutes especially look like proper drogue chutes, well, more or less, which is quite nice. So here we are on the surface once again. Right, so I've definitely quick saved. We are once again going to see how it does with MechJeb, and this time with the 3 engines. We'll see if that's any better. But why isn't that? There we go. No. Right, we don't want to go to 6,655,000 million kilometers, or whatever that number was. We do instead want to go to 55 kilometers. So we have a much higher TWR, but we're still getting this rocking. Only now it's around 3 axes, so it's even more wild. Oh, for goodness sake. I mean, the other thing to do would be to try it with 4. But then we definitely need different engines. MechJeb, why you do this? Why do you hate radial engines so much? So I think we're going to have to go with my plan of just not use MechJeb for this takeoff, because MechJeb really doesn't like this design. And then next time I come up with some kind of thing, that was eloquent. Next time I want to do a lander for a, you know, that has to take off again from a planet with atmosphere. I think we're just going to have to come up with a different, bulkier design, because this, I mean, it's more space efficient, this radial engine mount design, but MechJeb really doesn't like it. And it's weird because I've done rockets where the first booster stage has got those radial engine mountings from Kerbin, and it's fine. Or well, actually, yes, from Kerbin and from Gale, and it takes off without any issue. So I don't know what it is about that in particular. So, okay. Let's tweak it back to 2 engines then and re-stick a poodle on the bottom. Not poodle, a beagle. Stick a beagle on the bottom. Still a weird phrase, even. Okay. Anyway, never mind. Right. Oh yeah, we're gonna have to place it there and drag it down, because otherwise it's going to be on that that tank, isn't it? So, we'll reattach that. Engines. This has been a far more buildy stuff stream than usual. Normally I try and do the building off stream and then what did I do? Oh, I just moved it upwards, didn't I? So we just have the engine bell poking out. So that's fine. We know this will take off without the benefit of MechJeb. It's just it might take a couple of like manual quick saves and quick loads to actually do it. So otherwise that's fine. And so I think what we want to do now, add custom category, there we go. Right. Click into the sub-assembly thing because we're going to... I think we'll launch this separately. We won't launch this with the other thing. Because that's already going to be quite a big launch. Oh. Wait, why is that... Oh, because I alt-clicked, that's why. There we go. Right. That's fine. Okay, so that's now saved as a sub-assembly, which we will be able to stick on top of a launcher, basically. So the next thing is to build the launch vehicle for this, and I also need to set the action groups while I'm here. So we'll set one for the solar panels, and I guess we'll just set it for the... Yeah, we'll just have one action group for the solar panels and the radiator. Action group 2 we'll set for our antenna. Action group 3 we'll set for the cargo bay. And then we just got to get this sucker into orbit, and then we can mate it with the lander. God, this has been all kinds of filth on this stream. We've had hot bottoms, and now we're going to be mating live on stream. Good grief. You know, it's no wonder Twitch hasn't given me a partnership. It's just wall-to-wall filth in here. Oh god, the IS6. Oh, the War Thunder subreddit has been... Oh, there's been so many posts, so many salty posts about the IS6. So I'm guessing the IS6 is just as kind of like stupid proof in terms of armor as it is in Wool Attacks. Yeah. It was funny when I first started seeing posts and it was like, oh look, they've added the IS6 to War Thunder. I wonder how that's going. Anyway, so this is, what is this? This is 111 tons to get to orbit. So this is going to have to be a fairly beefy lifting vehicle. I wonder if we can do one of these. We might do, you know. What's my root part? I forgot what the actual root part of this is. Is it the science lab? It's the science lab. Okay, it's not the actual cockpit, it's the science lab for some reason. We could, I just had a thought, we could just like make this super stupid looking. Have some kind of decoupler there and have that be like the first stage and that'll be the second stage. You know what? Why not? Absolutely, why not? We're going to go once again with the traffic cone look. I mean, it worked really well with the Mark III. This one, you know, this was a really good launcher design. And that was only one stage, but that's a much lighter vehicle with the lander for IOTA and CT. So that worked absolutely fine. So obviously we're going to need something a bit bigger because this is much heavier. So if we want that to be just about bang on, apparently it needs to be 11.4 meters in width. This is going to be a rather tall launcher. So, right. How are we going to do this? I'm tempted to do it Soviet style, actually. Have a ring of quite small engines around the outside. So what we're going to need... I mean, this is all going to cost horrendous amounts of money. That should be more or less okay. So I've used this kind of style of design before. What we're going to have is a central like coupler here, and then we'll have a... oh, that's a thought. Can we actually scale that up? We might not be able to. We might have a very odd looking central stage here. Also, now we're having an argument about War Thunder, so that's fun. Well, I'm not having an argument, but you know. You plebs down in the chat there are having an argument. Wow. Did I... Wait, that's an actual separator, isn't it? Yes. That's fine. Okay. This would have a TWR of 0.22, so we need... God, I'm just constantly surprised that anybody watches me at all. Anyway, God, we could have a ring of these, and it's still only 0.86. But also, it has a stupid amount of delta V. This might even only be a one stage to get it to orbit, almost. I'm once again going to say nothing because it seems like the safest course, Sombra. Let's try a bunch of mainsails. 1.36. Right, this will get us off the ground. At least we have enough TWR and SLT. But this stage, even with 6 mainsail rockets, has 4,000 meters a second. So this is quite a big stage. Yeah, should we go with this? We could always stick one in the center as well. Of course, if I wanted it to be really expensive, I could take a smaller engine and just scale it up massively and horrendously. But we won't do that. The costs are bad enough as it is. What we might have to do is have a smaller upper stage then. Although, well, yeah, I don't really. Yeah, we'll have a smaller upper stage because this can be the main stage. We don't want to really eat into the delta V of this craft itself. Because apart from anything else, it's not got a particularly good TWR. Your friend Cyberwraith has started watching. Hey, Cyberwraith. I don't know how much that TWR figure is going to go down once the lander gets stuck on here as well. So I'm actually just going to add some more of these kind of like saddle liquid fuel tanks, because I'm absolutely paranoid that I'll get it up there, we'll stick the lander on it, and then it'll suddenly have a really terrible delta V. I just won't have enough. That's another 2. So that's now got 7,500 meters a second vacuum delta V. Right, so, what was I going to do? Oh yeah, a bunch of fins. A bunch of big fins. Every time I say fins now, I can't help but think of, you know, actual fins. Which, that actually makes it sound like I have some weird thing going on. I don't. Anyway, moving swiftly on. Very swiftly. We don't want ones with control surfaces. I've just had that thought. I might scale these up slightly. 150%. And so many parachutes. Obviously, all of the parachutes basically. KSP had a little moment there. I could even, rather than just double up on the parachutes, we could embiggen the parachutes that we have. That could be an alternative name for tweak scale, couldn't it? Embiggen scale. Yes, that should be the new name for tweak scale from now on. Let's put some launch clamps on there. And we're going to want the parachutes all in a separate thing because we're going to add another little stage in. So below that horrendous massive credit sink of a stage, we're going to stick in an intermediary small orbital stage, and just so I can be sure it will actually deorbit itself, I think we're going to stick some extra gubbins on it. Do I have... Where are we? Do I have a payload big enough? What am I looking for? Cargo bay. Where's the service bay? I could just say, scale up the service bay. What's one more bit of extra horrendous cost, right? It's already costing us so much. So, okay, that decoupler's there. That's fine. This is going to be a very tall rocket, probably. Have we got any parts of the right form factor already? I don't think so. I think the biggest parts we've got are 2.5 meter tanks. Yeah. So we're going to have to just use some 2.5 meter tanks and scale them up. To 3.75, so that's fine. We're going to need an engine for this monstrosity. So about 700 meters a second. That would give us 660. That's way too little delta V. Where's the one I'm looking for? It's one of the KW engines. I've got this one for testing. This is one of the KW engines I've got for testing, but I haven't actually unlocked it on the tech tree yet. I swear I've got a bigger KW rocketry engine around here somewhere. Could do a skipper. That gives a flat 700 meters a second. It's weird, the skipper gives... .41, 0.58. Okay, yeah, no, the bollard's better than the skipper then. 0.58 enough. Well, we've also got the twin bore, but that does that scale? Yes, it does, and that would give us rather more thrust than we actually need. But can you actually... No, you can't clip a thing to the bottom of the tin bore. The twin bore. So that really wouldn't work very well. Right. Oh dear, there's so many fin puns. So many fins with their puns. And puns about fins. It actually seems a missed opportunity that there isn't a Finnish aerospace company that just makes control surfaces. That just seems like such a waste that there isn't. Or maybe there is, and I just don't know about it. Because obviously, you know, I've done much extensive research on the subject. Yes. Yes, can you tell? Right, coupling. We want a decoupler, I think. Wait, where's the bigger... Oh, no, this is one you can't actually... Oh, never mind, we're not using that rocket because you can't actually put a decoupler on the bottom of it. Well, that engine, rather. So that's a bit of a pain, isn't it? We'll try this, I guess. Yeah, okay. And then we're going to want another Airstream shell in there. Clip that to the bottom of that, and then we build the fairing. And then we've got a nice inline fairing for our extra stage. So, how... actually still clipped into the... God, this rocket's going to basically... It's not going to quite bankrupt the space agency, but it's a very expensive rocket. This is definitely the most expensive rocket I've tried to build in quite a long time. Right. So in this stage here, we're going to... We basically want to give this thing enough control authority that it can deorbit itself, so it's not just going to float up there as space junk. So we need electrical power, and we need no. There we go. Actually, you know what? We're just throwing all the money away. Let's go with one of the really big battery control pack. Battery control pack. That's not a... Shut up, Brain. Right. Aerial. And that's on slightly skew if, which bugs me, so clearly we must change it. So always annoying trying to put stuff into the side of... because so often it's just slightly, you know, in the wrong place. And then we're going to need a mech jeb, which is basically you know, stand-in probe core. It's a pity you can't, like, when you scale these things up, it would obviously be nice to have this be about half the height that it is, but you can't change the dimensions in that way. And then we also want a bunch of these because we have the part recovery mod, and so even though this is going to be a horrendously expensive launch, we will at least get some of that money back. So why is that fairing unbuilt itself? I don't know. No, no, Nico, stop with the no puns. Stop with the puns. Right, I think the last little touch. Oh well, obviously we need to make the staging is going to make sure the staging is going to be correct. But the last little touch is that we want to do my usual thing of sticking a bunch of little lights on here, which are kind of clipping inside the surface texture a bit because I've scaled this up so much. Oh, what have I done there? I don't know. I did a thing and I don't understand what the thing was. As is so often the case in life. Right. So, this thing is just stupid big. And even with the big rockets, it's still going to be quite a slow takeoff, I think. So, staging. Right, so that is there, and that's going to deploy there and there. So those parachutes need to be in that stage, and then I'm actually going to take the fairing, the top fairing off the staging sequence, and then have that as an action group instead. No, I want the... Okay, I don't know why it does this sometimes. You've got a big whole group and it just expands them all out and you don't want them. You have to click them all individually to get it to just be stacked again. Right, so, that needs to be there, I think. Right, so this we have about 12,000 meters a second delta V in total, but obviously a lot of that is with the liquid fuel engines from this. For as long as it's enough to push us into orbit, basically. Right, I'm just going to double check. I'm paranoid. So right, okay, that's got the correct pressure settings. Those have the correct pressure settings. Okay, so we just need to set the action group for this. In fact, we'll set action groups of both fairings. So we don't want to prematurely deploy the fairings. Right, oh, this is going to be a very tall... Look at this! This is a ridiculous rocket. I don't even know what this rocket is. This is... Anyway, okay. We're doing this. We're going to pick out the crew. So the idea is we have a total of 6. And come to think of it, do I actually have enough right now? So we'll have a pilot and an engineer. I guess we'll take Bill Kerman. And I think you can run the science lab on 2. I think 2's the minimum. It doesn't actually tell me. So we're going to take 4 along, because what we can do is we can collect the science from Gratian, and we'll only have 1 landing, but we can then put it in the science lab, and as they're coming back, we'll process all the data. So we will come back with even more science. Wow, Cyber, I'm just... No, just... Why would you? We don't have enough scientists. So what we're going to do is we're going to hire some, and it's going to probably be quite expensive. I was thinking originally I'd wait until I had enough rescue contracts, so I had 4 scientists, but yeah. So we're going to try and launch this, and we're going to try and mate it with the lander, and then that's the point where we'll call the stream, I think. So, do we have enough cash for this? Yes. Do we have enough scientists to hire? The answer is also yes. So we're going to hire Hadlon and Kirk Kerman. This is going to eat up so much of my funds launching this bad boy. Do I want to... Yeah, let's drop a save there. Right. So, we're going to obviously change the mission flag. And we're going to make sure... So we've got Valentina and Bill in those seats, and then... Actually, I guess we might as well have them all in the science lab for takeoff. So that's fine. We've got 4 scientists, a pilot and an engineer. And we're going to launch this proud Finnish vessel and see what happens. See you, Blue Oval. Thank you for dropping in. That looked like you were typing a Welsh word there, Nikos, I have to say. It was the lack of vowels that did it. Also a very strange consonant combination, so, you know, Welsh. Right, this is a lot of parts. It's having a little bit of a wobble. Oh, I know. I did have enough scientists, but they're still sitting in the... Oh, I've just wasted some funds. I've got 2 scientists, but they're sitting in this little mobile lab over here, which I'm going to need to recover in about 20 days anyway, 25 days. Yeah, I was going... That's what I was going to do. I was going to recover that and use those 2 scientists. But no, I've wasted a bunch of funds. But it's fine. This whole thing is just a massive waste of funds anyway. So, here we are at the launch of the Latika Mafia. Our Mark IV interplanetary spaceship. Well, technically it's the Mark I interplanetary spaceship, but it's the Mark IV design. Because the other 3 marks have all been just travelling to the moons of Gale. So, yeah, this is big and it's heavy and it might all go horribly wrong, but we haven't just exploded on the launch pad, so that's a good sign. Having said it's heavy, how even heavy are we? Vessel... Where are we? Vessel, something. Vessel info. 955 tons! Good lord. Okay. Also, there does not appear to be an IVA for the OPT Science Lab. It's just a grey interior. I guess that's one of the OPT parts that doesn't yet have an IVA. Let's have a look at Valentina's view. Of course, they're inside the shroud at the moment, but they do have some... It's quite nice. This doesn't appear to, however, have screens, and also there's a little knob in the middle of the screen, which I don't think should be there. Anyway. So, right, it was 9 and 10 for the things, and I want to make sure that we stop at stage 3. Okay, I think we're good to go. It had to think about that. It really had to think about that. I wish my wallet was that heavy, Cyber. Yeah, actually, that would be a good. You know, how many moisa is this rocket worth? Well, it's about what? They're about 200. Is it 191 tons? 190 tons? So somebody can do the maths. It's about 5. About, no, it's 4 and a bit. Yeah, it is about 4 and a bit. Wow, you actually did the maths more or less right, Sombra. More or less, you know, I'll give you that. Also, I've got to turn the lights on. We should turn the lights on. So if you don't turn the lights on, you're going to go entirely unnecessary. Like, that's just part spam at that point, adding all those lights, but whatever. Why not? That sounds very French of you, Cyber Wraith. Right, how are we doing? It wasn't actually that slow of a takeoff. It wasn't too bad, all things considered. See what the ride is like from inside the cockpit. There's a little bit of wobble going on, actually. You can see the wobble relative to the craft. Also, this cockpit IVA is one of those ones that is a little bit wonky, but it's fine. This is a 6 Kerbal crew, so we've got basically 4 scientists who are going to be doing science things. We'll be taking one of them down to the surface, but for most of the time they will be in there. Yeah, this is frozen a little bit. I think it's struggling with the amount of parts that we have on this thing. Oh! No, 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 no. Oh, that's bad. Oh, that's bad. Well, that wasn't the design. That was a physics glitch blowing up my ship. So, I think I'm happy hitting the reset button on that one, because that's the game deciding to screw with me rather than something being actually wrong with the design. Yeah, that shouldn't have happened, and I don't know why it did. Yeah, attack of the Kraken indeed. Right, Valentina and Bill are fine, but they have no parachute. It just literally disassembled itself into 50 bazillion parts. Oh, oh dear. That came out of nowhere. Yeah, no, I'm hitting the reset button on that one. If the Kraken's going to eat my baby, then yes. Right, right. First off, we're going to reroute it, and then I'm going to auto-strut to the route part. And we'll see if that makes a difference. So we haven't manually strutted any of this, but it is... I do have the rigid attachment set on. I think I do for all these parts, actually. Which in theory should have meant no wobble. But for some reason there was wobble. Yeah, I don't know why that... Don't know why that did that. We'll try it again. Also, see you, Nikos. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, okay. Let's try this again. Maybe that's it. Maybe I tempted the Kraken with the fact that it looks a little bit like the Soviet N1 rocket. And the Kraken just could not resist. So... you know, it's getting to the point where I think even if we just get this into orbit, never mind sticking the actual stage on it. The lander stage. I think if we just get this into orbit, I'll be happy with that. And we'll call it a night there. And also, I'm going to have to blow my nose after that big sneeze. I do just sneeze at completely random times sometimes. In fact, sometimes when I'm recording videos, I have to scrap a recording and start over again because I have a big sneeze in the middle of it and then forget what I was saying. Cyber 8th, get out, get out. Leave! Never darken my door again. That was terrible. Right, stop at stage 3 it was, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. Altitude's fine. Once again, quick save. We've got our finished flag. We've got the lights turned on, which is obviously very important. It was weird. It got to a certain point and then it was just like the Kraken suddenly attacked out of nowhere. Because the Kraken likes to do that. It's maybe not as quite as stable as the Chaser, but having this tank scaled up, this particular kind of cone-shaped tank, it does seem to provide relatively stable launches. Why a finished flag? Because, well, it's called the Latika Mafia. Well, you've seen him in the chat, but he's actually, you know, Finnish. So I figured, why not? Finland can into space. Or at least it can in Kerbal Space Program. Maybe, yeah, she was playing, no, she was playing World of Warplanes. That's what it was. She was playing World of Warplanes, and the CPU blew up, which obviously then blew up the entire rocket, because that's what happens. We're still getting a bit of shift, but it should be relatively. I mean, I think the part of the problem is it's just such a long vehicle. So if it wobbles around inside the shrouds too much, that will cause a rapid unplanned disassembly. So fingers crossed that won't happen this time. Because KSP can be a bit iffy about having really tall launch vehicles, and sometimes you kind of have to. Alright so far, we're passing 8,000 meters. Yeah, we're getting a little side to side kind of shimmy, but it's not too bad. I'm hoping that auto strut down to the main body of the rocket will have helped. So we're approaching the halfway point of this burn, at least in terms of the delta V and the time. But we're also starting to climb out of the thicker part of the atmosphere. So that delta V that we have is going to be more useful. Basically, we're going to get more out of it. Right, no explosions so far, which is a good sign. It all seems to be going more or less according to plan. It hasn't tried to flip out or anything, that seems to be my main problem when I build taller rockets, is they just, like, I don't know, they flip all over the place. But this fuel tank, using this particular fuel tank scaled up, seems to alleviate that problem quite nicely. I guess because it puts all the weight of the rocket at the bottom, even though the top of the rocket's obviously quite unwieldy and heavy. Oh, no! No! Damn it. Not again! Not again! Oh, good grief. Wow, that's just like... There's nothing left. All the rockets went flying onwards. Look at all the parachutes. No! They don't even have a seal parachute to get back. Damn it. So tell us, Valentina and Bill, how are you feeling right now? How are you feeling about your prospects? Because I have to say, honestly, your prospects aren't looking too good. Well... Damn it. We might have to slightly go back to the drawing board. I might have to do this off stream. Well, you know what? I'm going to call this stream there then. That isn't going according to plan. I think it's just it's got so many parts. 168 parts. Yeah, it is quite weighty in terms of the number of parts that are in this rocket. Maybe I might just add struts. I don't know. I'll fiddle with it off stream. I will get a stable launch vehicle, and then the next time I stream KSP, we'll actually be launching this thing for real. Because those were simulations, you guys. Simulations. Yeah. And then we can get it stuck together with our lander, and we can actually go off to Gratian, and it will be my first manned interplanetary trip. And won't that be exciting? So, thank you all for tuning in then, and rather than play out some outro music, we'll actually see if Rocket PC is still going. We'll give him a host. He's not doing Galileo at the moment, he's doing a kind of beginner's... Oh no, he has switched over to doing Galileo 10.0 scale, so... yes! Anyway, so... oh, please, Cyber, plus... I'm classy, I am. I'd never make filthy innuendos or anything. Yeah, so thank you all for tuning in, wherever you are, and I hope you've enjoyed yourself and enjoyed the explosions. There were more explosions than I usually have, but that's the nature of KSP sometimes even. And yeah, wherever you are, have a good day, and I hope to see you next time.